Great to have you on the podcast. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Let's kick things off. Would love for you to tell the audience a little bit about your background, and then we'll talk about OpenSpace.
Sure, yeah. So my name's Jeevan. I'm the CEO of OpenSpace. Started about 6 or 7 years ago. My background, basically, I was always interested in artificial intelligence as an undergrad, and I did a major called symbolic systems. It's this thing, it's a Stanford thing, but basically you can think about it as like a cognitive science major, but more technical. So did one concentration in philosophy, one in AI. By the way, I'm starting way back. So after that, moved to New York, did a bunch of random stuff, and ended up hooking up with who are one of my co-founders at a program called the Media Lab at MIT, and continued to get more into AI and hardware too at that time. Always been interested in physical stuff, like the real world. I think it's kind of a theme with OpenSpace, right? Started a company after that with a friend of mine. We were friends in grad school, undergrad too. We were roommates, same major. We're in a band together in college. And so we ran that company, venture-backed technology company, building hardware, and we sold that. So that was cool. And then I got into the world of construction because the company that bought us is called 3D Robotics. And to boil that down, we shipped a drone in partnership with GoPro, and that was a pretty big launch. And a lot of the users were builders. And so we built a product called SiteScan with Autodesk. Pretty simple idea, fly over a job site, get a map, see what's going on. And I really love that experience. It taught me a lot about what builders really need. That a picture really is worth 1,000 words, there's a couple of conclusions. I ended up being president of that company. And then after that, I took some time off, didn't do too much, which was fabulous. The kids were younger, so I went to the zoo a lot. And then one day Mike called me, who's our CTO, and he started a computer vision company after MIT, video analytics. And their work is really cool, but I'll try to answer the question snappy. Ended up being a good company, and he sold it to Twitter, actually, kind of interestingly. Anyways, he called me one day with this interesting idea using these new cameras that were 360 cameras. And he was kind of scratching his own itch in a variety of ways. And I just listened to him. I was like, who could really use that, man, is builders, people who build buildings. And trust me, I've been in this for years now. And this would change the game for making construction fundamentally simpler. And he's like, "You do want to work on it?" I was like, "Sure, I'm not doing anything else." So we bootstrapped the idea, and I joined a venture firm as an EIR, entrepreneur in residence, called Lux Capital for a little while. And obviously we thought the idea was good. And we started, and it's been growing pretty quick ever since.
I love it. Yeah, Lux is awesome. The only person I know over Dina Shakir.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
I know she does a lot in the healthcare space. I'm from the healthcare space originally.
Yeah.
Super interesting. Now, can you explain to the audience what it was about these like three? Because obviously, you said basically immediately when you heard him start talking about these 360 cameras, wow, that's really interesting. What was it about that made you say wow? Like, kind of explain the differences for those that maybe are unaware.
Yeah, so what a 360 camera does is pretty self-explanatory. It
Yeah.
basically takes like a panoramic images in 360. If you're looking at Google Street View, that's a 360 camera. You can look all around, look at anything. And in open space, our one sentence is to simplify how the world gets built. Like that's why we exist. And we do it through the, magic of AI and computer vision. And it's a pretty simple premise, like if you work out in real physical reality, like reality is your job. And like I said, a picture's worth 1,000 words. You can just see what's going on without literally having to walk over there at the right time with the right people. You can save a lot of time. A lot of stuff that you have to do with forms and all kinds of annoying workflows just evaporate if you can do this. And the 360 camera was like basically a way to, I hate to use this kind of buzzword, but to democratize this idea of reality capture where you can just look and see what's going on. And yeah, like the drone solutions were cool. They were technologies looking for a problem, and they found a problem, but it's not, if you're trying to make the promise to a builder, say, "Hey, look, I'm going to give you this magical device. It's a teleporter, it's a time machine. you use it and you can go look and see what's going on in your project from anywhere at any time. That's powerful. That changes the game, you know? Um, and the drone sort of does that. It only works outdoors and only on ground up construction projects. So as a superintendent told me, it's like they're great, but they're only good for innings 2 and 3 of a project. And most projects there is no outdoor phase to begin with at all. Like you think of construction as tower cranes and these big projects, a lot of them are just renovations and TIs. So you kind of want a solution that can kind of cover everything super quick. And these 360 cameras held the promise of doing that.
So, give me an example. If you're deploying these on a site, how many do you actually need in many cases? I know it depends on probably various factors, but what does
Yeah.
that look like?
Yeah, totally. So maybe I'll just rewind and tell a little
Mhm.
bit about what OpenSpace does, and then hopefully that question, the answer to mine will make more sense. So, um, like I said, we simplify how the world gets built, and our basic core idea is that if you can just have this 100% complete visual record of your job, then a lot of stuff gets simplified. And the knock-on effects are pretty massive, I should say. It's a simple idea. The visual documentation is good, but we think it's pretty transformative. I'll get into that in a second. So what exactly happens with OpenSpace? You have someone going for a job walk, superintendent, project engineer, whatever, and they just take the 360 camera and it goes along for the ride. Almost literally piggybacks. Put on your hard hat, whatever. Go for a walk. What our technology does is it takes that kind of dumb 360 video file and it turns it into like Google Street View, like a path mapped to your drawings, and so you can click on any space and look around and see what's there. And because it's very easy to use, you're just walking around. People use it all the time, once a week, once a day, sometimes. So you can really rewind and say, like, hey, what was behind that wall? What's under this concrete? There's no questions, there's no opinions, there's no guesses. It's just the facts. So that's the basic crux. And I should say that it's grown pretty fast. We have we've gotten to some scale, which we're proud of. Construction technology is hard, and getting past this certain amount of scale isn't easy. And I'm proud to say that we've done that. We've plenty to grow, but one way we think about that is how much data has been collected by our customers. And yeah, recently it got to like 40 billion square feet. So that's a lot. And we have, builders using it, um, hundreds of thousands of users and every day using it. So it's really gotten to that growth, which is pretty cool. Now let me answer your question. How many cameras? It really depends on the size of the project. If you're just renovating a 1,000 square feet because you're putting in a coffee shop, it's fine. If you are building a data center or stadium, more, you know. Um, and our technology doesn't care. You can use as many cameras as you want. Um, it really scales to the amount of people you have working on a project, and the amount of risk. If you think about it, what this data does is just reduces the risk of construction because you have the data of what's actually going on. Um, and so for bigger projects, the more risk, you might want to collect more of your spaces more often.
Who do you typically work with when you're engaging with a customer?
Yeah, so our customers are really the whole ecosystem of builders. And, one way to simplify that is the owners who are building the building, the general contractors they hire to execute it, and the trades that actually do the work. We have customers in all three categories, and it's pretty diverse for us at OpenSpace. It's not like there's just one type we sell to. And then if you think about those companies, who do we typically engage with? You know, uh, I'm proud to say, like, people really love the product. It just makes their life easier, and it starts with the field of just something that is a pain reliever of they don't want to have these conflicts and disputes, and just so a lot of times the first person that calls us up is a could be a project manager, sometimes a superintendent, sometimes it's PE, and then it grows from there, and we get engagement from the executives that are overseeing everything, because they start seeing this technology like really simplifying not just the lives of their team members. We definitely see that. It's like, hey boss, you better buy this because like we have come to rely on it. But also just the straight up ROI, like they can see their projects getting more profitable because they're using our technology in super literal ways. And I can talk about that more. But that's typically who we engage with is like the operational people, the people building the buildings, the people who, if they do a good job, those companies make money, and if they don't, they don't.
What would you say the mix is between like renovations versus complete new builds? Uh,
Yeah, it's like pretty diverse. It's a good question. I wish I knew that. I should know that. Bad CEO. But
no,
it's a
just
pretty it's pretty diverse. So we have we're not. I think one thing that, because OpenSpace is like it's pretty simple to use. It's not a complicated idea. It's pretty easy to use. It means you can use it on giant projects or little ones. Um, so we have some customers that they don't do any ground up construction, just renovation and tenant improvements. Um, and then of course there's like big marquee projects like Rams Stadium, like SoFi Stadium, and Hudson Yards in New York, and a bunch of others that have used the technology. But but yeah, and a lot of just apartment buildings that are getting built just all across the world, just pretty run of the mill type projects.
part of the reason why I ask is just general curiosity because you always see all these new buildings going up in every major city. But when I walk around, I always wonder, okay, like obviously there's a lot of construction going on here. But what else is happening? Like, because it's not always going to be apparent, right, to everyone just walking around what big projects are going on within these renovations. Super interesting. What type of feedback do you really look for, like when trying to continue to improve the what you've already built? I guess I'll rephrase that. How do you know what to add to roadmap and what to shelve?
God, that's a good question. Um, so there's no magic formula for sure, and it depends on the phase of the company. Um, I guess, but let me try to answer your question directly. Like to me, um, it's there's when you're building for builders, or even if I would make that a little bit wider aperture, if you're building for like so-called enterprises, um, generally speaking, the customers will kind of tell you what they want. It's not like super unclear. Um, then what you need to do is a few things. One, prioritize it. So once you get lots and lots of customers, you'll have a unending backlog of requests. And if you just try to address them all, your company will will not do anything super awesome. So you have to be mindful of those, but not let them completely control your roadmap. Um, so prioritizing them is important. Then the second thing, you have to read between the lines and not do the whole build a faster horse thing. And that's where creativity and judgment comes in. You hear what the customers are saying. You're like, well, what is the leap forward based on this pain that they're talking about? Like, or for us, it's like, what is the open space way of doing this? Of addressing this pain the customers are talking about. Um, and you just do that. Um, and ideally within those, you have some truly revolutionary stuff. Like I've been getting, it's an interesting question, Jared, because I've, getting myself more back into the product and roadmap, um, and that's in a lot of what I'm talking about and kind of preaching is like, keep it simple. What are the customers asking for? And let's just focus on building stuff. Because the last thing I would say is, you know, whatever you think is right is not right. You have to get some stuff out and get some feedback, and um, you don't want to be in a situation where you just are working on something for 12 months and then you're like, ta-da, and then you're praying. Now, sometimes that happens. Like when I was in the hardware world, that was the way it was. You can't iterate on the hardware. You'd have to decide what you want to build, and then it takes 12 months to ship it, and then you pray that you got it right. Um, but with software, you can get a little bit more feedback. So, great question. Again, I'm just trying to think about my answer I just gave you and summarize it, which is, listen to the customers, prioritize it, don't be afraid to prioritize it, and then give yourself the room to be creative, to be like, what is the creative uh, way of solving the problem that the customers will be like, wow, that is pretty cool.
What's next for open space that really excites you?
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff. And let me highlight a few. So one thing that really isn't about the technology, which I do want to talk about in a second, is just the fact that OpenSpace is truly delivering ROI in ways that are awesome. Our focus was really just relieving pain early on. Like OpenSpace was not any sort of quote unquote evangelical sale where you had to like convince someone of this great new world if they bought your product. It's just like, look, it's self-evident why this makes your life easier. And I think that's great. That's true. And that's been a lot of the growth. And now we're seeing some of the ROI tangibles that come out of that. So just to be concrete, I had this theory that if you think about the type of data, if you really build something that can collect this type of visual data early and often, it does fundamentally just reduce the risk of projects, right? Because you can just see what's going on. So for example, if you're deciding whether you should pay someone or not, isn't it less risky if you can just go look at the instant replay, i.e. OpenSpace, and decide, hey, the work was installed? Yeah, it is. So all the pain you have to go through to approve that today just sort of goes away. You don't need to do 15 job walks. You don't need to have every single person in the capital stack, the bank, the owners, GC, all do these reports. You just look and see, like, we're good to go. And that nets out in things like payment terms. It really gets to the bottom line of the P&L of these projects. Um, or insurance is the same. Like if you have an issue and you can just look and see, you could probably nip it in the bud before it becomes a big insurance claim. Or even if it does, you just look at the instant replay and you can assess it instantly. I mean, we saw our customers do that after some fires. I remember seeing this, like, hey, we've been using OpenSpace and we can like instantly assess and get paid out because you cannot stop a job. It has got to keep flowing. And if you stop it for an insurance thing, it can screw it up. Um, and then with hurricanes, we saw some customers like doing the same thing. And so that has become extremely real. Like we have partnered with an insurance company, Shepherd, where literally it's like Shepherd says, if you use OpenSpace, we'll give you a big discount on the insurance policy. And not just some like additional line, but the full wrapped policy for the whole freaking thing. And that more than pays for the cost of our software. So it's like you would be stupid not to use OpenSpace. It's like literal ROI, like literally makes the job more profitable. And so that's pretty cool because we're like an AI software company. How could we reduce the cost of construction? It's not like we're making steel cheaper or somehow like introducing some direct labor savings, but you can, and so that's like pretty cool. So I'm very excited about the tangible ROI that our technology provides. The second thing I'm excited about is what we call spatial AI. That's something we're pioneering, but it's not just open space. It's a general trend, which is this: if you think about what AI does today as people conceive it, it's very oriented around these sort of text-oriented large models. But the truth is, lots of industries, including construction, are not about text fundamentally. They're about the real world, what's actually out there. And so, there's been a lot of big like luminaries in AI from the academics world, like talking about this, like the intelligence of a cat. A cat doesn't speak, but a cat is very smart about the real physical world. And our current AI systems don't really do that. So we have invested in that. Like our builders are building real stuff. We have 40 billion square feet imagery data. It's growing rapidly. So can we train our systems to just know what's in those images and give people answers way faster? There's a variety of ways we're doing that make sense of the imagery, create location and context out of the imagery automatically. So I'm pretty excited to roll all that stuff out this year. And the third thing that's related to that is just, like 360 is great. We're getting a lot of that data in. And we want to get more data in from the phones too. Like we have a lot of people just taking field notes in our app that already exists. So this isn't exactly new, but I think it's pretty exciting to get more rich imagery data into the platform so we can make more sense of what's going on projects.
I love it. I'm so appreciative for you coming on the podcast to share more about open space. Love what you're doing. would love to definitely stay in touch for any updates that you have and continue to push those out there. But really appreciate your time here today, and thanks for teaching us more about OpenSpace. Really cool.
Yeah, totally. It's my pleasure. And I guess my parting thought is, you know, uh, construction is not optional to civilization, right? Like we need to make it easier. It's too hard. Um, and I really think that it's been hard to build technologies for these guys because they're out there in the real physical world. But now we can, visual data is you can get it now. You can start making sense of it now. So we have an opportunity to like make this industry a lot more efficient, a lot more enjoyable, and just, get more people to be stoked about it because it's like such a noble thing and more people need to get into it.
I love it. So
All
great
right, thank
having
you.
you. I'm excited for future chats. This was awesome. I love the parting thought, by the way. Uh,
Yeah,
very, very few industries out there that we are constantly surrounded by too, and construction being one of them, right? It's always around us. It'll never stop. But yeah, thank you so much.
my pleasure. Thanks for having me on. I look forward to talking to you again.